What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Well Man's Podcast. My name is Brian Brosey. I'm joined by my friend and co-host, Keoni Tita. Keoni, how are you today?
I'm doing good. This podcast today, I was thinking, like, if I wanted to have one kind of back pocket nutraceutical where I had to go into a very toxic environment, I would take glutathione or something that repletes glutathione. So what is glutathione? You can find it on the store shelves. You can find it, I use it a lot in my clinic. I recommend it quite a bit, prescribe it a lot for various complaints. I mean, almost anything, especially chronic conditions. But glutathione is the body's main, most powerful antioxidant.
Okay. This is something I've heard of a lot, Keoni. Like, I've come across it. I'm aware of it, but I'm not familiar with it. So I'm super excited for this one, exactly what it is and what it does.
Right. And I've heard it called Googlethione. It's not Google. It has nothing to do with Google. It's called glutathione. Anyway, it's a small peptide of cysteine, glutamic acid, and glycine. And it does all the scavenging work of basically getting free radicals out of your body, kind of quelling them. And we know from past podcasts that free radicals are the things that get generated a lot with any type of illness, especially chronic disease. And it's also the thing that ages us very quickly. If we have a lot of free radicals, we're going to age very quickly, especially on the inside. Yeah. But it's not just something as a powerful antioxidant that quenches free radicals. It's needed for cell signaling. It's needed for appropriate cell division. It's needed for immune defense, DNA repair. With that, think about decreasing your risk of cancer, keeping your DNA all good. Mm-hmm. No little nicks or mutations there.
Right.
Very, very important for protein synthesis and for detoxification. And
so we've got a peptide kind of all around the body, essentially, that's working in various ways to clear up trash.
Yep, it's in all your cells. It clears up cellular trash, makes sure that things are being disposed of appropriately.
Are there established norms? Like, how do we know if someone's deficient or not?
We'll get into that. We will get into that. There's indirect measures of that.
Okay.
Also, from a clinical perspective, you can kind of get an idea also, but there are objective measurements that you can get an idea of what somebody's pro-oxidant load is.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that. So getting into more detail, it maintains proper cell redox. So basically, you just think about that as maintaining appropriate homeostasis in the cells. And that's extremely important. As I said before, it's the body's main antioxidant in both the cells and the tissues. It maintains mitochondrial function. We talked about mitochondria. Mitochondria are the cell's powerhouses. They create ATP, which gives you energy. And here's where it's probably known the best for. It's a major, what we call conjugation agent of phase 2 detoxification in the liver, and it clears environmental toxicants. So if you're very deficient in this, you are really asking for problems in a number of ways. But your liver is the thing that clears out. You can think about it as the environmental hazardous waste site that kind of clears everything out, packages it, makes sure that you excrete it, get out of the body. Without glutathione, you can't do that. Basically, you just are creating a vicious cycle of more and more and more, oxidants.
Yeah. So you're building up essentially a bunch of trash.
Yeah, you're building up a bunch of trash. You're building up a bunch of molecules that are pro-oxidants, which are looking. They have they're looking to grab on to some other compound, basically deactivating it. It has a free electron that's going to go and bind to something, and if it binds to something, these molecules, what's going to happen? It's going to inactivate them. So the body just works less and less efficiently.
Okay.
So there's a number of enzymes that really help glutathione that I wanted to go over, because people may hear of these, especially if they're talking to their naturopath or any other doctor that's familiar with functional medicine. But these enzymes are have weird sounding names, but if you had any type of biochemistry course or anything like that, you've heard of some of these. And they all start with the first name of glutathione, right? Because the enzyme is helping with glutathione. So the first one is glutathione peroxidase, and this basically helps quench those nasty free radicals. So we're talking about things that are called peroxides, superoxides, hydroxides. These things are all like, think about them as these like almost like a bomb going off, and all these free radicals have to be quenched in the body, and glutathione peroxidase is the enzyme that helps make sure glutathione, one of them, is doing its job. All right. Okay. The other enzyme is called glutathione reductase. Without really getting to the biochemistry of it, what it does is it just makes sure that you have the ability to recycle glutathione, so it's always there to help you. Right? If the glutathione reductase is not working well, then glutathione is going to become lower and lower and lower, and can't keep up with the toxicants that your body is constantly exposed to in your everyday life.
Right. Okay.
All right. And then here's really the main one that I think we all should really pay attention to, and that's glutathione transferase. So just to go back, I just want to tell people like when we're exposed to environmental toxicants, chemicals, insecticides, herbicides, even heavy metals to some extent, any type of organic type compound that's just toxic to the body, which we're constantly exposed to. The one enzyme that really helps us with this is called glutathione transferase. So what happens is, in phase 1 detoxification, what happens is you are exposed to something, and the body has to do something to it. In phase 1 detoxification, it prepares that molecule to be packaged by glutathione transferase so that it can be more water soluble, so that it can be cleared from the body. If phase 1 detoxification, this is all going on in your liver and other areas in the body, but mainly the liver. If phase 1 detoxification does not have enough glutathione around, what phase 1 does is it can possibly make some of these hazardous chemicals even more hazardous to your body. Okay? Because what it's doing is building up chemicals that need to be packaged some more by glutathione, so that it can be excreted. If glutathione is not around, phase 1 detoxification gets backlogged. Okay. And you just create more and more of these harmful chemicals in your body. So that's why. So for example, if you were exposed to, I don't know, some toxic chemical, one of the things that a lot of physicians and healthcare providers will recommend is doing like IV N-acetylcysteine, which is a precursor to glutathione. All right. So if you ate poisonous mushrooms or whatever, this is one of the things that will quell all those free radicals that are being generated in your liver. So you have to do phase 1 detoxification. You pre-package the compound, so to speak, in the liver. Many times that compound can be a lot more toxic than the original thing. And if it's not immediately taken care of by glutathione and some other cofactors, but glutathione primarily, that compound is going to sit around and create havoc on the body, and it could do damage within hours. So think about eating like a poisonous mushroom and how quickly that can, destroy your body, destroy your liver and stuff like that.
And it's the glutathione transferase that would be
think about the transferase. It basically transfers that initial compound into something that's less harmful and is ready to be excreted from the body. Okay. So that's what the transferase does. And I just want to stay on this one a little bit more, because there's so many things you can do to help this enzyme keep glutathione healthy in your body and keep the levels up. And one of the things that really help is tea polyphenols, like your green teas, white teas, your black teas. I mean, tea has some compounds in there. There's some research on it that shows that it can really help with this glutathione transferase. Rooibos tea is another one. And then guess what? Our favorite compound, curcumin, is one of them also. One of the things that doctors will talk about a lot is eating your brassica family veggies. We've talked about this also, your broccoli, your bok choy, your cabbage, your Brussels sprouts, your kale. These things all have compounds in them that really help with phase 2 detoxification, which is where this glutathione transferase really shines.
Okay. Now, do you have all these enzymes, like if you're eating bok choy, like you mentioned, are you getting all these enzymes with that, or from
what they're
eating
doing is they're supplying certain plant compounds that enable the body, that enable these enzymes to be more efficient in their action.
Okay. All
right. So they're not necessarily out there saying, okay, I'm going to eat more broccoli, I'm going to create more glutathione. You are going to help they're just going to become more efficient. So therefore the levels will be good. But that brings up a good point, because that brings me to the next enzyme, which is glutathione synthetase, right? And just based on that word, synthetase, that means basically we're making something, synthesizing it, right? And that one helps make glutathione from precursor compounds. And we'll talk about this a little bit more, but basically whey protein and N-acetylcysteine, which we just talked about, those are good pre-molecules that are the building blocks for glutathione.
Okay.
And this enzyme, glutathione synthetase, helps take these and make glutathione your body's main antioxidant.
Okay. Well,
the human body,
a little confused about, as far as, let's say we're going to supplement with glutathione, because I've seen that in the Whole Foods store, just on the shelf.
Right.
Am I getting these enzymes, or am I getting glutathione, which is a little bit different and helping create?
You're actually getting the glutathione.
Okay. Which would not include those enzymes that are going to come later from just the body's production.
Yeah. Basically what you're doing is you're taking glutathione, right? And the glutathione you want to take is a liposomal form of glutathione. Taking regular glutathione does not work. It's not absorbed. So liposomal glutathione is the best one to take. But basically you're just supplementing the body with glutathione. That doesn't mean that you're supplementing the body with these enzymes. Enzymes are made of proteins and stuff, and they also have their own building blocks. But what you're doing is making sure that if these enzymes are not working well, you still have plenty of glutathione around through supplementation.
Right. Okay.
So that's why supplementation may be good. But these enzymes just help make sure that glutathione is doing the job. It's like the helper for glutathione to make sure that it's doing its job. It's the helper for making sure there's plenty around. It takes building blocks to make its own. Like this glutathione synthetase, they will talk about using whey protein in studies and using NAC to help create your own endogenous glutathione instead of taking it exogenously, like through a supplement.
Okay.
And I recommend both, really. I recommend, at least take, some NAC on a regular basis, or take some whey protein on a regular basis. Or maybe you can do something where you take NAC for like a month or so, and then, go to liposomal glutathione or that type of thing, especially when you need it. It's very important to make sure that your levels are up.
Okay.
And run it efficiently. So yeah, I didn't want to confuse anybody. Even though I know I probably did, just because it's a lot of biochemistry, and you need to have a little bit of background of what, these enzymes do and mean. But I wanted to bring them up because, there's a lot, I want to bring them up because there's a lot more you can do than just supplementing with just glutathione.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
If you're eating a healthy diet that has plenty of tea polyphenols in it, like green tea, plenty of brassica family vegetables, plenty of sulfur-containing vegetables like allium vegetables, garlic, onions. There's even research on the Apiaceae vegetables, which are like carrots, parsley, parsnips, those types of things. All of those things will help keep the enzymatic functions of glutathione running efficiently. You know, the enzymes that help with glutathione running efficiently. And
Yeah.
that's important, right? Because, you know, these enzymes, you know, they're made from, you know, they're proteins, right? And so where are the instructions for making these proteins? It comes from your DNA, right?
Right.
And so some of these people may not have gold star enzymes that they're making. They may have little snips in their DNA that changes the shape of these enzymes that make them run less efficiently or more efficiently, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you really want to balance, because if they run less efficiently, you know, you can think, well, that's going to slow, you know, throw some cogs in the wheel, so to speak, and slow things up.
Right.
If they're running more efficiently, maybe you're creating more compounds that can't be taken on to the next step quickly enough,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So
it's like a shipping center is getting some backup if stage 2 of the process is down, and so on and
that's
so
exactly
forth.
right. Think about a factory assembly line, and each of these enzymes is kind of like a person on the assembly line having to
Mm-hmm.
do their job. And if they're not running appropriately, you know, that there's a problem. So think about somebody who's on the factory line who has, I don't know, who can only use one hand instead of two hands. You know, how's that going to slow things up? You know, the
Right.
enzyme works less efficiently, that type of thing.
Right.
And these things are called polymorphisms, and they're very real. You can test for these things, and knowing what your polymorphisms are, think about where this may lead down the line. If you have a genetic snip to some of these, and most of us do have some genetic snips with these things, you're going to be more likely to be more prone to certain cancers, to certain respiratory illnesses, you know, so on and
Right.
so on. More your immune system will be imbalanced also.
Yeah.
So the reason why I want to talk about this today is because if you really wanted to take a gold star, like if you had to take one supplement that, you know, can help make sure you're detoxing appropriately, and help quenching your free radicals, or in the interest of slowing down the aging process, man, it's like upregulating glutathione, or supplementing with it, or supplementing with the precursors to it. And also, just so you know, I know you know this, but a lot of people don't know, these enzymes like the glutathione peroxidase and reductase, they all have these other minerals and vitamins that need to be helped with them too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So glutathione transferase also, actually most of these, and when you look down the line, require the mineral magnesium. They also require B6, you know? And so me and you've talked about that quite a bit, magnesium.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important for helping your body keep glutathione levels up.
Yeah.
And we, you know, at the very beginning, we talked about glutathione. What's it made out of? Well, it's made out of cysteine, right? That's an amino acid. That's a sulfur-containing amino acid. Well, sulfur-containing foods, the smelly foods, so to speak, eggs, the allium vegetables, brassica family vegetables, contain these sulfur compounds, which the body can then take to make cysteine, which then uses to make glutathione.
Yeah. Well-rounded diet, always. Really.
Yeah, a well-rounded whole foods diet. But again, that may not be good enough for some of us,
Right.
based on SNPs or based on other things we're doing, right?
Right.
So
And we can find that out through genetic testing, Keoni?
You can find it out through genetic SNP testing, how you're doing on, you know, your glutathiones, on the levels of glutathione. And we'll talk about that in just a second here. But the diseases that are associated with glutathione range the whole gamut. But things that like diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, Parkinson's, cancer is a biggie. Any type of respiratory problem, reactive airway problems, asthma, allergy, like all my patients that have like asthma or any type of allergy to anything, you really want to make sure that glutathione levels are up. At the very least, supplement if you're not going to do testing, because the nice thing about it is you're not going to do harm supplementing with that to anybody with glutathione.
Okay.
You know, chemical sensitivity, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, all those things probably are indicative of low glutathione levels. Any type of chemical compound out there, and we breathe them all in, just living in the modern day, living in a house or anything, you're getting them in there. But if you have exposure to insecticides or herbicides, any paint thinners, volatile organics,
Yeah.
You need glutathione to help you out.
Because again, it's just going to help clear that shipping center. It's going to ensure that that's
It's
running
just gonna
smoothly.
it's gonna make sure that things are running smoothly. And remember when we did that podcast, we did a podcast on like what's the best way to decrease your
To
toxicant
detox.
burden. Yeah, we talked about lifestyle. We already hit on that a little bit with the eating a healthy diet, maybe focusing on some of the things that we specifically talked about, the brassica family vegetables and things like that, whey protein or whatever, but generally eating a healthy diet, but also doing the things that help you avoid or get rid of the sources or decrease the amounts of certain chemicals. And that's like opening the windows in your home periodically, replace the filters monthly in your HVAC unit, get an air purifier, don't wear shoes in the house if you can help it. I mean, think about what you're tracking after walking along some type of parking lot in your shoes, and then you bring it into your house, using these fragrances. How about these plug-in synthetic fragrancey things? I mean, I think they're the worst thing in the world. I mean, don't use them. Your body has to detox those things, even though you may not be aware of it. You still have to detox it. No Teflon cooking pans. If you're cooking something on a stove, run your vent, your stove. Those things all create toxic burden on your body.
Yeah.
Know the dirty dozen fruits and veggies. That's something you can go to the Environmental Working Group website. Know the most heavily sprayed veggies and fruits, and especially with those, try to buy organic when you can. But getting back to your question, like, is there a test where we can really see, what your oxidant level is one test that's done. I'm gonna really mess up the name here, but I'll just give it's called a urinary 8-OHD lower D G. It's called an 8-hydroxy 2'-deoxyguanosine. It's basically a compound It's basically a compound you're looking for in the urine, that the higher the levels are, the higher your toxic burden is. Okay. So that can be run to give you an idea of what your,
are you aware
about your free oxidant levels are.
Right. Are you aware of like can I go to CVS and pick one of these up, or no?
No, you can't. I've never seen it there. You'd have to go to somebody like me, and then I would basically get you the kit for that. I think what company does this? The company that I use mostly is called Genova Diagnostics. It runs that test.
Okay. Good old American health system.
Yeah.
I want to know how quickly I'm dying.
Right. And you can type that in. Like, you can just type in how to test for, my oxidative stress or urinary 8-OHDG test, and you'll find places that can do that. Most conventional docs will never have even heard of this test. They don't run it at all. It's probably not going to be covered by insurance, but it's a good test to know what your toxic burden is.
Okay.
So if we're talking about pro-oxidants in the body, which we want to really reduce those things, then, we want to consume or make sure that we're reducing our toxic burden by possibly taking antioxidants through diet, botanical antioxidants, these things we already mentioned. Curcumin is one, a botanical antioxidant, the vegetables that we mentioned. And then there are some supplemental like type antioxidants that come in like a vitamin. You could see them. They usually have things like in there like lycopene and some other compounds like B vitamins, stuff like that. Anyway, they're designed to help reduce the oxidant load of your body.
Okay.
The other thing that I also want to bring up to people is if your digestive system is not healthy, let's say you have what we say in the naturopathic medical world, like leaky gut, or you have any type of dysbiosis, gasiness, bloating, or whatever on a regular basis, then you're probably going to put some stress on the glutathione system also. Okay, and so on these enzymes, which can definitely lower it. And things that basically increase.
That goes with what you said earlier, just kind of like a chronic inflammation type situation.
Yep. Right. But with the gut, it's very important, because with the gut, we always talk about, where is the foundational healing? Where does that happen? Always look to the gut to treat first. So if you have leaky gut, you may have these endotoxins going from your gut into your blood, or creating little compounds that cross from the gut into the blood, creating havoc on your immune system, then creating more inflammation, putting you in a pro-oxidant state, which then lowers your glutathione levels. So things like that you just need to be aware of, and things that create endotoxicity where this happens is you're eating a high-fat diet, eating lots of saturated trans fats, not taking a probiotic. This is where a probiotic can help, right? So if you have dysbiosis, you've been on tons of antibiotics over the years, you definitely need to be on a probiotic. Again, this indirectly will affect your glutathione levels. And then just not eating a high colorful diet where you're getting these low amounts of polyphenols that are found in your spices and your colorful fruits and vegetables. Yeah. All of these will decrease endotoxicity. And, in your gut, what happens in your gut is you have a lot of gram-negative bacteria. Typically, they're the bad bacteria. They should stay in your gut. Well, when you have leaky gut, you get these endotoxins from these bacteria in your blood.
Okay. Okay.
And so when it becomes really bad, it's diagnosed as sepsis, which is life-threatening. You need to be treated.
Okay. I did not know that's how sepsis came about. Or at least it's diagnosed as.
Sepsis comes about from any type. Sepsis can come about from any type of infection, right?
Right.
But when you have leaky gut, you're getting amounts of these, what we call these lipopolysaccharides in circulation. These are just I don't know, for lack of a better term, it's these compounds that come from these gram-negative bacteria that just create havoc and inflammation in the body.
Huh.
Let's see, what else? We talked about aging, like just the fact that as we age, your levels of glutathione start decreasing. Drinking alcohol will lower these. Think about that. You're drinking alcohol, your liver has to do something with it and help detox that alcohol. Alcohol is we know anything, we do know that alcohol is a known toxin. So a chronic drinker or somebody who's an alcoholic, definitely you should really think about being on some type of glutathione building blocks like NAC, whey protein, or liposomal glutathione.
Yeah. Well, you'd say the same for a smoker too, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Smoking, but then we're getting to if they're not
right. Yep. If they're not going to, and I mean, some of these are really, really tough addictions. So you can do a lot to help them as they're trying to stop or quit.
Right.
What else? Any type of neurodegenerative disease is probably going to be benefit from taking some sort of glutathione building block or glutathione itself. And like we said, any type of chronic disease will increase glutathione, what we call oxidized glutathione. And oxidized glutathione is glutathione that just does not work.
Yeah,
right?
It's the one-armed factory worker we were talking about.
Right. Well, in a sense, it is. It's basically, yeah, you can think about it that way, but it's in a different light without you get into the details of it. Yes, it's a glutathione that just does not work. And it has to be, this is where we talked about that enzyme. When you have oxidized glutathione, right, you want to make sure that one-arm factory worker, which would be if you have oxidized glutathione reductase, that enzyme will then take it and make it into a glutathione that works. And you can think about that one-arm factory worker being a glutathione reductase that doesn't work as well, which can't take the oxidized glutathione and make it a better glutathione.
Right.
All right. So that's where that comes in. But no, you're exactly right. An oxidized glutathione does not help you at all. You want to, it needs to be reduced to regular glutathione. And that's just chemical terminology, and I just don't want to even get into that with people. But basically, you can think about oxidized glutathione and reduced glutathione. Reduced glutathione is the form that you want in the body.
Okay. So that's the two-armed worker. So for we're using our analogy.
Yeah, it just works more efficiently, that form of glutathione, right? Yeah. And if you have the two-armed worker, which I would think about as the enzyme, the worker taking the packaged oxidized glutathione and make it into the reduced form of glutathione. If you have a two-arm worker doing that, they work very efficiently. That's the enzyme.
Right. Okay.
So, but what do people really want to know? Listen to this podcast. Like, all right, so basically the points are here. Glutathione is very important. It's one of my favorite supplements to take. But there are many ways to boost it up. Okay. And probably one of the best ways to do that, and probably cheaper than taking liposomal glutathione, is taking N-acetylcysteine, right? Okay. So N-acetylcysteine, again, if you have a lot of that around, think about the factory worker or a particular enzyme taking that NAC and making it into glutathione. If you have a lot of NAC around, you have you're good to go for your body making more glutathione. Okay. But with that being said, there's a lot of things, cofactors that need to be also, these enzymes or these factory workers basically need to have other little helpers near them, like selenium and magnesium and B vitamins, to just help things run more efficiently. And so some other compounds that really, really help that I just want to bring up are, we talked about the T polyphenols. Well, another one that has a lot of these beneficial polyphenols are things like cocoa, curcumin, awesome, the herb rosemary. It's considered a liver herb, but milk thistle. This herb is pretty amazing what it does to the liver. It really helps make the liver run more efficiently and optimally. So milk thistle tea is a great one. I use milk thistle a lot. I'll recommend it for people that have any type of liver issues or where I think they may have low glutathione levels. Okay.
I'm not completely familiar, Keoni, but who is milk thistle not for? Because I know I feel like that one you have to be careful with, right? Or am I wrong? I could easily be wrong.
Milk thistle is one of those herbs that really does not have too many downsides to it. Okay. So just about anybody can take milk thistle. Okay. All right. You may be thinking about some other herbs like licorice, where you have to be a little bit more careful. But milk thistle, especially if you're doing it if you go to a store and buy tea bags of milk thistle, you're not going to have a problem doing that every day if you wanted to have milk thistle every day. Okay. It's really good for you. And those types of doses is not going to be an issue. Another herb that I find really fascinating is aloe vera. I mean, there's some studies on aloe vera that after being exposed to a toxin, like maybe like arsenic or some of these organic compounds, that hazardous compounds, taking aloe vera seems to help replete glutathione also, which I find there's some type of compound in aloe vera that really helps that. So aloe vera is another one. And what else did I want to talk about with this? I think the two main, if I had to say, besides taking NAC or doing whey protein or taking liposomal glutathione, what are the best ways to actually help make sure that this whole glutathione system is working appropriately right? What
Right.
would you need to take with all those enzymatic pathways going on? And there's hundreds of them that directly or indirectly help keep glutathione at an optimal level in your body so that it can quench, free radicals and detox toxicants that you're exposed to. It's things like magnesium. I mean, magnesium is, we've said this before, magnesium is utilized in over 300 or 400 biochemical reactions in the body.
Hmm.
It helps the factory worker do its job better to
Yeah.
making sure that glutathione is up. Making sure that you're getting protein in your diet and also plants in your diet that have sulfur containing amino acids. Like cysteine is the main one. So you're thinking about eggs, you're thinking about, animal protein will help supplement that also. But you certainly can get you can get cysteine from legumes, you can get it from, your plant foods, beans, lentils, that type of thing also. These things will all keep that process running appropriately.
So
And
the biggest things are the NAC supplementation and a variety of foods containing sulfur, like you keep mentioning.
yep,
And am I missing any of like you said, to kind of increase all these levels with, like you were saying, with so many different pathways?
right.
Okay.
So the main thing I do is just foundationally, to help glutathione levels, I'll just make sure somebody's on a really good multi, because you're talking about minerals like selenium and zinc also help these
Right.
pathways. Definitely magnesium. So a good multivitamin, B6, some of the B vitamins. If you're doing that and then taking some of these glutathione precursors, if you're doing a great job, or taking liposomal glutathione itself. And just keep in mind, if you go to the GNC or you go to some store to buy glutathione, if it's not liposomal glutathione, it's probably not going to do much for you.
Hmm.
All right. So you'd be better off than just getting NAC or
Okay.
N-acetylcysteine. And there are products out there that will give you liposomal glutathione, like that I use in my clinic, certain companies that will do it. And then there are other products that are packaged as basically supplements that help recycle glutathione to make sure the levels are up all the time.
Okay.
So you can think of these as products called glutathione recyclers. I mean, you could probably type in glutathione recycler and there's probably going to be products that come up that help keep glutathione levels up. But regular glutathione, if it's not liposomal, it just does not get absorbed well into the body at all.
Okay. Is this something you recommend kind of everyone to take, Keoni, other than the precursors? Let's stay with like specifically supplementing with glutathione, the liposomal version of glutathione. Would that be something you would
Well,
kind of recommend across the board, or for someone who is experiencing a little bit more of, some of these things that we mentioned, chronic fatigue or whatever the case may
yeah,
be?
no, it's a great question. In general, I will recommend keeping it in the back of your mind. What can you do to keep your detoxification, your endogenous detoxification levels going appropriately besides eating a healthy diet? And periodically, I would say, whether you have some type of disease or illness or whatever, taken periodically or taking it on a regular basis, like N-acetylcysteine or liposomal glutathione, and especially if money is not an issue, the NAC tends to be a lot cheaper than the regular glutathione
Okay.
or the liposomal glutathione. But if money is not an issue, and I feel like that type of investment really helps protect, like taking like 600 milligrams of NAC every day can really keep you healthy and enhance your quality of life for, the rest of your life. I mean, most of us have these genetic polymorphisms in some of these enzymes, because I'm sure there's like hundreds of enzymes that help with glutathione being running efficiently. And all of us, just the nature of it, have little snips in these enzymes that make these enzymes not run as appropriately, or maybe run too good, right? And both of those can create problems. And
Right.
when we see these polymorphisms, these little genetic snips, especially when they're related to glutathione, and especially when they're related to, like things like the glutathione transferase that's the main enzyme that helps you detox, phase 2 detoxification. you're talking about higher rates of testicular or oral or pharyngeal or bladder cancers have been shown to be at higher incidence with people that have these certain genetic polymorphisms where glutathione is not doing its thing or being as efficient. And you can test for these. Like, you can get an idea of what your genetic SNPs are through some of those genetic SNP testing, like 23andMe, and there's plenty of those out there that you can run, and you can see like what your enzymes are doing, and if you have any type of polymorphisms that are not optimal, so to speak. Basically, you do 23andMe, and then you run it through. Well, actually, I think 23andMe gives it all the data now anyway, but you can run it through basically something called Prometheus. It's another app on your computer, and it will tell you all your genetic polymorphs. I think it costs, after you do the 23andMe, I think it costs like $5 or $10 for it to pull the data from 23andMe and then put it in a way that you can kind of understand it.
And so once you have that information, Keoni, you're aware of your snippet, you attack that by ensuring that you facilitate these enzymes that you're looking for, the one that would be changed to some degree.
You
Is
could,
that
once
how you would address the issue?
Yeah, you would get this data and you would look and see, well, do I have these polymorphisms? Oh man, I do. I have a polymorphism in my genetic transferase enzyme, okay?
Right.
And it doesn't run as efficiently. Well, I definitely should supplement with glutathione.
Okay.
Or I definitely should supplement with NAC.
Okay.
That's the thing. Like right now, you, me, we don't really know if we have these things until we actually run it to see. Now, you could just go the other way and go, well, I'm just going to supplement with 600 milligrams of NAC. But for some people, that may not be enough. And you may not be supplementing with all the cofactors appropriately. This is why, people that do what I do, functional medicine practitioners, a lot of times people come away from me and they go, oh, these guys are just pill pushers. Well, there's, and I get that. And I think sometimes we go overboard with taking, certain pills and stuff, but there is a method to the madness for why somebody may be recommending that. And I think as naturopathic physicians or functional medicine practitioners, even though the detail, me and you can go into the biochemical detail here, and I know it can get really confusing, but I do think we do need to take the time to explain, this is why I'm recommending this.
Yeah.
And this is why you may want to be on this, lifelong. It's not one of these, one shot and you're good, like finish a bottle of glutathione and you never need it again.
Right.
A lot of these studies will show, like, once you stop supplementing, your levels become reduced quite a bit. Here's another thing that glutathione levels will do. The older men get, their fertility rates or their sperm morphology and motility go down significantly.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that is due to glutathione levels becoming low. That's why if you go to, as we'll do a podcast on semen analysis, and we'll talk about some of this stuff. But that's why young men tend to, if you go to a sperm bank, they want the sperm from a young man, because what's happening is the sperm is not great the older you get.
Yeah.
And
I'll get in the lab and prepare for that podcast for sure.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, me and you should do one, right? You do yours, I'll do mine. Me being a few decades older than you, so we can go ahead and see.
Battle of the sperm.
There you go.
That might really increase our numbers, Keoni. I gotta say that might make some headlines.
Well, we should do it. We should definitely do it and just see. I think it's very important for men to do that anyway. Just because most of the time women get the short end of the stick on this. When couples are seemingly infertile, usually they're blaming the women. And most of the time the doctors won't even test the men. Well, many times the men,
Yeah, that's
And I
true.
think a lot of heartache and stuff can be alleviated by men going to get their stuff done. Here's the nice thing about men: if they have poor sperm morphology, you could supplement with things like glutathione and other things, and guess what? Most of the time, your semen analysis is better after doing it. You can see it.
Yeah.
You can see before and after.
Wow.
So anyway, yeah, we should definitely do that at some
And
point.
you kept dropping 600 milligrams of NAC, Keoni. Is that a recommended dose? Is that
Yeah, that's a
common
standard
studied?
recommend.
Okay.
That's the recommended dose, common dose that's done in the research. 600 milligrams. You can get a big bottle of NAC 600 milligram caps,
And it's
and it
safe
would
to take
last.
daily?
It's safe to take daily. Yeah.
Awesome. NAC is one of those things I have in my, I've got a multivitamin, magnesium, and maybe 2 or 3 other supplements in my cabinet. And NAC is one that I have, but I don't take every day. So I will
Right.
certainly start doing that.
I think a good multi, like if I, what's the optimal supplementation intake for people to take most days? I would say a good multi, some fish oil, and then probably if you wanted to do like further foundational stuff, it'd probably be like NAC, maybe magnesium.
Boom. I was
Definitely,
waiting.
yeah.
I was waiting. You're
Yeah,
insulting
definitely
me.
magnesium. Yeah, definitely magnesium. And then, the research on curcumin, I can't get over how powerful that compound is found in turmeric. I would say even a little bit of that, or at least use the spice quite a bit.
Yeah. Maybe we should
You
do
know,
a whole episode on that. I know we've done spices and stuff like that. We could just break down curcumin a little bit more.
yeah,
Sounds
yeah,
great.
absolutely, absolutely.
So take the
So
liposomal form, Keoni. Is there anything like else that you feel like should go in the wrap up? It definitely makes sense as to why we went into like the biochemistry and why you need to understand that you need all these, if it's at the factory, you can't just have the worker, you have to have all the little helpers around and the supervisor
right,
and
and
so on
so
and so forth.
So think about the other workers as being magnesium, B vitamins, um, and then think about eating colorful fruits and vegetables, using your spices. All these things can help with your glutathione levels. I
Yeah.
mean, keep in mind here what we're doing. It's like we're helping. I can make a case for boosting your immune system. Right now, we have the coronavirus that's scaring everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Having healthy glutathione levels will certainly help.
Yeah.
With that. I mean, it does. This also helps balance, your innate immunity and your adaptive immunity, your Th1, Th2 balance, which we can talk about later. But it does so much for you,
Yeah.
and there's very little downside besides the cost of what
Mm.
it is. And if you ever had acute poisoning from anything, a lot of times you're going to go to the emergency room. The first thing they're going to do is IV you with NAC.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, that would be part of the treatment program based on any type of acute poisoning that's life-threatening.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm definitely going to start supplementing with the NAC daily.
Yeah. And don't worry about the milk thistle. It's a very safe herb. I've used it for years. It's not a
It's
problem.
pregnancy. Now that I had the thought of it, if you're pregnant, I think that's the only thing that came to my mind.
Yeah. So
Keoni's the expert on herbs for
so
sure.
there's in pregnancy, you're probably not going to have a problem with milk thistle or anything like that.
Okay.
But you are right. In pregnancy, like I don't like a lot of my clients doing a lot of herbal stuff if you don't need to.
Yeah, that makes
and a
sense.
lot of that has to do with I just don't want to stress out their primary care providers with it, and therefore it will stress them out. But having a milk thistle tea every now and then while you're pregnant is not going to be a problem. Having green tea while you're pregnant is not going to be a problem. And certainly eating all the vegetables and spices that we talked about are not going to be a problem during pregnancy.
Okay, awesome. And you certainly want to keep those glutathione levels up during pregnancy. Absolutely.
Yes, you do. You want to make sure that things are running efficiently.
Anything else, Keoni?
That's it. I think we covered most of everything. Anyways, everybody, sorry about all the biochemistry there, but
thank you for taking us along the journey. We were all in the boat. Keoni was driving. We were holding on to bits and pieces. Some slippery fish jumped in. I tried to catch a few. But thank you for demystifying that, because like I said, it's something that I have, just being a personal trainer in exercise science and then now physical therapy. It's come up in like performance discussions, but I really haven't investigated it too much. So that really helps me understand what it does. Thank you.
It makes perfect sense also. So as far as an ergogenic aid, I'll bet you there's some research supporting that, helping to, help people with athletic performance.
And recovery. I mean, if it's
Oh,
clearing out the
definitely,
trash, there you go.
yeah, definitely recovery. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, everybody, thank you for listening, and we will speak with you next week. Until then, be well.
Take care.